to the hype. There's no question about that. I think anybody that denied that, I don't know what you're seeing. Now, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to win an MVP award. We'll see, but certainly he looks like a guy that can win an MVP. So I love what I'm seeing from Zion for the most part. There are issues, and I'll get to those. But, yes, he's playing tremendous basketball. Remember, this is almost really could be categorized as his first year. He only played 24 games a year ago. And so it's kind of like it's almost his first year, and he is averaging 25 points on 62% shooting. And as you said in the intro, J-Mac, a big key. It's not the key to him scoring because he's been scoring since he stepped on the floor. But now that Stan Van Gundy has put the ball in his hands and unlocked this other part of Zion's game, I think now you're really going to see him unlock. It's been about 10 to 12 games or so where you see Zion handling the ball more. He's in the pick and roll more. He's bringing the ball up court more. Remember, he was the guy in that comeback over Boston. He penetrated, had the ball at the top of the key, penetrated, drew 3 Celtics defenders, 3, and kicked it out to Brandon Ingram for the game-winning three-pointer. So Zion, with his ball handling, his athleticism, his strength, his size, and in today's NBA where the floor is spread, you can't stop him from getting to the rim. And so now this is going to be, offensively, I think this is great for him. There are areas he needs to work on. Obviously, he's not a three-point shooter at all. So that's something that over time he will get. It will take years probably. He's got to become a better foul shooter. He's done that better this year. But the thing that disappoints me the most is the rebounding. At that size, with that leaping ability, that explosion, for him to be averaging 6 rebounds a game, that's almost a travesty. And in these last 10, he's averaged 5 rebounds a game. Okay, so I got to get better rebounding from him. And then defensively, he's got to improve. He's not much of an off-ball defender at all. Not unusual for young guys. LeBron came into the league, turned into a great defender, but early on he wasn't much of a defender either. So I'm not going to kill Zion for that. But, yeah, offensively, he has lived up to the hype. And let me say this lastly. I don't want to hear people talking about, oh, but their record, the Pelicans aren't winning. How can Zion be playing so well if they're not winning?
So mad.
He's young.
Oh.
All right, you get a grace period. LeBron James didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years in the league, but he was balling. You know, Kevin Durant didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years in the league, but he was balling. And Zion may not make the playoffs year, but the boy is balling. Yes, he's lived up to the hype.
You want it, Mac, or you want me to take it?
I have a bad feeling about this.
I'm going to make y'all really upset with my take.
That was a mic drop.
I'm going to make y'all upset.
Nothing to say.
I'm going to actually walk by your mic and kick it off the stage because for me, and this might offend a lot of people, but when I look at how Zion plays, he's lived up to the hype of being able to come in and be a difference maker, an impact player. We love his explosive ability, right? That's what really is most attractive, is how explosive he is with the size that he has. He's not big enough to be the explosive, athletic guy of a Shaquille O'Neal. So he's not going to be a dominant Shaq O'Neal big man in this league. You talked about him taking three-pointers. He has to be more skilled. He's not as skilled, nowhere near, nowhere close, not comparable to a smaller but taller guy like a Kevin Durant or a LeBron James. You're not going to compare them skill-wise, in my humble estimation. He falls somewhere in and around that realm of Shawn Kemp, Chris Webber, Larry Johnson.
Ooh.
I love those guys. Coming out of college, if you said to me, are they going to be MVP caliber guys? We'd all say yes. We'd all think that Shawn Kemp is going to, which he did dominate. But he was not that next tier greatest of all time player. He needed Gary Payton. He needed a lot of elements that could help him to be the dominant player that he was. It wasn't him creating those opportunities. The guys that are MVP players in this league are guys that can create their opportunities from outside, inside, unless they are just stone cold dominant like Shaquille O'Neal. So to me, I think he's lived up to the hype. I think he's a great talent. But next level MVP talent, I don't give him that.
Okay. Listen, I was worried where it was going, but I'll give you a B- on that, LeVar.
Okay.
It's fair. Right. He did make a great point, Chris. As you said, Zion has to level up next year and add a perimeter aspect to his game. He doesn't have that right now. In fact, he doesn't rebound. He doesn't steal the basketball. He doesn't really block shots outside of a couple highlights. He is very limited. But 54 games, he's averaging 24 points. 6 guys have done that in their first 54 games. That's it. And it's the level of David Robinson, Shaq, etc. I will say this. Zion Williamson, 5th in the league in player efficiency rating. Chris, we know when he gets the ball, it's lights out. Just ring it up. It's a bucket. But I want to see him make that leap to even a guy like Blake Griffin. Remember, Blake Griffin was all dunks and flash. He started to add the three-point shot. A guy like Russell Westbrook was all dunks and flash. He never really added the perimeter game, and now he's extremely limited. Even Allen Iverson, dynamic, amazing scorer, never really was a great three-point threat. I think if Zion can extend to the perimeter and start making those shots, then he becomes a 1, 2, maybe even 3-time NBA MVP. Chris, I do believe he can be on that trajectory. The question is, how bad does he want it? You know, at 20 years old, if you're overpowering everybody in the lane, there really isn't, oh, I don't need to shoot threes. I don't need to extend my game and become a Charles Barkley where I'm dominating the glass, going end to end. He's capable of that. The question is, does he want to do it? I don't know the answer to that, but yes, I do believe Zion is a 1 or 2 MVP.
You guys think he can take over for LeBron James? Do you guys think he? Do you guys think he could take over and be as dominant in this league as LeBron James?
Yes.
Wow.
No.
At his ceiling, if he really works at it, certainly.
He is nowhere near.
Not even in the conversation.
He can be. I agree with LeVar. He can be an elite scorer. He darn near already is an elite scorer. Okay, he can be at the top of the charts in terms of scoring in today's NBA. But he doesn't do the things LeBron James does. He's a nice playmaker. He ain't LeBron James playmaking.
But he never will
be. He's probably never going to be a great shooter. He'll improve. He'll be okay. Where I disagree with you, LeVar, is you said he's not Shaq, and obviously he's not. He's half the size of Shaq as far as height. But today's NBA is different. That lane is wide open. They play 4 and 5 out. So he will be able to get into the paint. Back in the day, he wouldn't have been scoring 20 points a game in the paint. You know, it was too congested, and there was too many bodies in there. But now, with his handle, his quickness, he can get to the paint, and once he get there, there's 1 or 2 defenders to try to stop him.
Hey, bro.
So I do think he'll be able to continue to score a lot, but I'm not putting him on the level. I don't think he'll ever be a LeBron James. And he may not win an MVP. He may be a second star.
I don't see that. I told Saquon Barkley this his last year in school. The wind blows highest. The wind blows hardest at the top of that flagpole. And you don't really know how hard it is until everybody sees you blowing at the top of that flagpole. That's when we know you're great. You walk up to somebody's table and you take their food and you ain't know they was coming up to take your food. You get a hold of it, you eating their chicken wing. It's like, man, dude just came and grabbed my food. But you didn't know he was coming to the table and you ain't know he was coming to take your food. Well, once he goes in that lane and now we're talking about MVP talk and GOAT talk and can he transition and be that guy? Now you're coming to the table and they know you coming to the table. So that lane that you're talking about, if he actually transcends into being that type of player where we have to talk about dominant player that's heading for an MVP award or bid, they're not going to just let him walk up to the table. You got to be bad enough to come to the table and still take the food, not sneak up on it and get a hold of it. They're not going to just give him that lane. If he is the guy, they're not going to just give him that lane. New NBA and all, they're not just going to do it. And I see the way they're playing against LeBron right now and packing in the key. They're not going to just give him that lane. He's going to have to be able to create space. He's going to have to be able to create shots, or he had better hope for a guy that can do it for him. It's going to have to be one.